Here comes my video for the 4th episode of Revenge. I use less scenes so the video does not get blocked on YouTube. So I hope everyone can still follow my thoughts on the plot. But I think anyone who watches these videos is as obsessed with the show as I am. For those who frequently rewatch the show, the plot must be very fresh in mind. For the others, I have put together some videos with my favorite revenge ender moments and some with the most important scenes on Emily's relationships. So if you like to refresh your memory, you can also watch these videos. But now to the 4th episode of Season 1 called Duplicity. Again a title which is fitting for almost each episode. Here it is, the theme that Emily is not who she claims to be. Oh, the flashbacks. Though some do not like this kind of story element, I just love the flashbacks with little Amanda and the ones with Victoria too. And I am happy that they not used black and white footage or sepia for this, though I use that as a style element in my YouTube videos. I think because of the age gap between little Amanda and Emily and her father being dead, you can separate those flashbacks really easy from the rest of the show. What I still enjoy through I know the whole story is that they have this great enigma and you can get more and more information with every new episode. I know that is a structure they use in almost every TV show, but that is what made me so addicted with television. Before I was a movie fan, but now most of the stuff I watch are television shows. Anyway, the flashbacks always shed new light on the relationship between Amanda and her father and Victoria and David, of course. Especially in Season 3 and 4, the flashbacks gave us a lot to think about. I always like how she talks about her father, because the flashbacks and her words are the only connection we have to David Clarke. He is the most mysterious figure in this game. Maybe that is the reason why he was such a disappointment in Season 4. The actual character just could not live up to these expectations, because the expectations of the viewers were as high as Emily's, which were the memories of a 9-year-old child. We the viewers only get to see him in flashbacks until Season 4, and obviously through the lens of Emily and Victoria. And these two are clearly no impartial sources. They both love David, so till Season 4 we do not see very much of David's bad habits or character traits. The only great failure he made him look even more likable, because he was just too naive, trusting and too much in love with Victoria. Only Conrad, who is impartial too because of his jealousy, speaks ill of David. What I enjoy with Season 3 is that they do pick up elements and plots from Season 1. I spoke about the relationship between Daniel and his ex-girlfriend Sarah in the video before. But the weather in this flashback or the memory was something Emily told Daniel about in Season 3.
I grew up in a house just like this. I remember one night the summer storm rolled in. It was so strong it shook the walls. I was so scared. My father found me, and I remember in that moment he didn't treat me like a child. He explained to me what thunder really was, just a change in temperature and pressure. He took the fear away.
If you are a die-hard fan, that Easter egg moments were really fun cause you could literally see little Amanda and her father in your mind, as if it was your own memory. But enough of that now, about Emily's new target. Again, it is stunning how long Emily must have planned her revenge ender. She sees a psychiatrist who is Victoria's too, what is not a coincidence at all, and does this over a year before she sets foot into the Hamptons. Here in this combination of scenes, I like that what Emily actually tells the psychiatrist could be true. So far we have seen her losing her father as a child and getting involved in a new relationship with Daniel. Though Emily does play her role very well, the posture is so different from what we've seen of her before. She seems to be so shy and not self-confident at all in this scene. I almost thought they made a time jump here. But as she looks at the camera in the book, it is totally clear that she is faking it. I like the Easter egg with the camera being in the book of the original story The Count of Monte Cristo by Dumas. Later, at the end of the season, we see a camera in Orwell's 1984. I know it is not that great, but it's playful and nice. And I am a viewer who enjoys these little details. That is one of the reasons because I liked the TV show Gilmore Girls that much. The show was full of cultural references and it was fun to learn more about American culture and British literature by watching the show. What is funny that her analysis of Emily is actual true.
After over a year of treatment, I remain skeptical that Emily will ever conquer her trust issues. The past continues to define her present, and she's given me no reason to believe that it won't define her future as well.
Though she totally overlooks Emily's real violent and disturbing personality. But Emily does live in the past every time. Because she cannot forget what the Grayson did to her and her father. It is fun how sportive Daniel and Emily were in this episode. You never really see them again doing those kind of things, being sportive together, eating stuff that a normal couple would do. You can argue that Emily's is fully concentrated on her revenge ender and that they had other problems after Daniel joins Grayson Global, but it was a nice touch of normality. Mostly I enjoyed Tyler in this scene. He is starting to get seriously jealous on Emily. Though they never really told it, but I enjoyed the underlining plot here. That Tyler is in love with Daniel and wants to get rid of Emily so that he can be together with Daniel in the end.
Look who's whipped.
In Criminal Minds, the actor had a quite similar role with even more issues. So in my opinion, he was the perfect fit for the part. The time with him was only too short. Would have been nice when they had the chance to bring him back too. Like Lydia in Season 3. It is funny how the two dislike each other. This mirrors Emily's problems with Victoria. Because the three characters have very much in common, they lie and manipulate and they are constantly plotting against each other. In retrospect, it seems funny that Tyler tried to intervene between Emily and Daniel. He did not know what he was up against. Like Victoria, he thought that Emily would be a soft target. But she, like the show itself, proved resilient. What I really dislike about the Tyler-Daniel storyline is him encouraging Daniel to drink. Every bad decision and most of his bad behavior was under the influence of alcohol. Daniel behaves badly when he is with Tyler in Jack's bar drinking and playing pool billard with those girls. Not to forget his drunk car crash with his ex-girlfriend Sarah. Spoiler alert. He was drunk when he attacked Emily during their fight at the end of Season 1. He shoots Tyler drunk at his engagement party and he was drunk when he shot Emily in Season 3. Daniel has some serious issues with alcohol, which is a big cliché too, but also real baggage for the character. So Tyler telling him his parents are only overprotective and that he has no alcohol problem is really dangerous for everyone around him, including Emily. Though it is a overused topic, it is still a serious problem for many people and I like that they stick to it in almost every season. Flaws and details like that make a character more vivid and real. And, as I said before, in every trope or cliché lies a true core. If you think about it, with this scene they build a whole arch that lead to the events at the beach. The writing in Season 1 was clearly structured and far better than all those little beside events and storylines in Season 2. When I rewatch this scene with Jack and his brother, there comes another similarity between Jack and Emily and Declan and Charlotte in my mind. In Season 4, Emily tries to reconnect with Charlotte and through the whole show she is protective about her spoiler alert little sister. Like Jack, she wants to protect and be there for her family. That is a character trait that they both share. Now to Amanda's flashbacks. I enjoy that we see Amanda in different time periods and that we can almost track her whole life till she became an adult. Though there are still some holes in the story. And again, the song of Agnes Obel brings you in the right state of mind for these scenes. Amanda's story is really sad and these flashbacks with Dr. Banks makes the viewer not only feel sorry for Amanda. I think it is the first time that you really feel hatred for the person who did that to Amanda. So you not only find Emily's actions justified but necessary to get over this emotion. I think that was a very clever structure in this episode. And it is why I enjoyed this takedown so much, though you can say that Emily seemingly is starting to get too far with her punishment. And here again an internal joke, because it is Amanda who claims to be Emily Thorne, and I think we can all agree she is really, really dangerous.
I promise I'll be a good girl.
You just be pretending. People who aren't who they claim to be, Amanda, are very, very dangerous. You would be wise to remember that.
And here comes again her frightening sociopathic look. This story about the problems in the social service system seems to be a really old trope from American TV shows. One of my favorite shows with Australian actor Simon Baker is The Guardian, in which he portrays a lawyer who is working for social services. And I know several other TV shows where main characters are orphans and have lived with foster parents or in an institution till they were of legal age. Anyway, this treatment gives Emily's sometimes pathological character more ground because she had more than a rough childhood. This little scene is nice because it outs Nolan as Jemily-shipper from the start. Silly that they did not drop the whole Haiti plot sooner. No one really thought that either Daniel or Jack would leave the show anytime soon. Later I can understand why Nolan tries to drive Jack and Emily towards each other, but it was not fair making Jack believe that Emily is actually talking about him with Dr. Banks. Clearly she maintains her cover and uses her relationship to Daniel, but she would never ever talk with a psychiatrist about her true feelings. So Nolan only got Jack's hope up and brought Emily in a bad situation. The scene with Declan, Charlotte and Victoria was only tolerable because of its comedy. Concha by Paolo really made a good job in keeping it fresh. Spoiler alert. It was too bad that he left the show this early. Charlotte's storyline never recovered from that loss. This scene was clearly written for the Jemily-fans, like Nolan. It works because Jack and Emily are nice together, but they have not such a great chemistry as Emily and Daniel or later Emily and Aidan. He is a nice guy and the story behind it with their childhood fling is a very good theme and perfect for a romantic happy end. But for me the two actors have just not this magical chemistry than other couples on the show. I mean, it was a nice arc in season 1 and they had to build some scenes so that Daniel's jealousy does not seem unfounded. But I never bought the deep connection in season 1. Spoiler alert. When he knew her real identity in season 3, that was another story. But Jack did not see her that much in season 1 besides the times she brought his dog back to him, so I do not see how he could be that much interested in her. And she does not give him that much mixed signals if you do not count her looks at him, which are for me more sad than encouraging. By the way, I like that she can actually cook.
Nice to know you can let your guard down once in a while. Who knew you could cook?
We do not see it in the show, but in season 1 she really makes dinner at several occasions for Daniel. That was a nice realistic touch because mostly you see those people working with catering or personal assistants. I know Emily cannot have someone around her beach house for obvious reasons, but she could have ordered dinner. Instead, she cooked herself, what shows that she is still more down to earth than Victoria or other socialites. In the later seasons, especially in season 3 and 4, her glamour lie through it was a farce. Ade was a little too much, but a nice contrast towards her casual moments with Aidan and Jack. But now about the environment for most of Emily's takedowns. Not only the personalities Emily targets are so satisfying, it is also the setting. Because most of these people are going down in their natural environment, which means in the glamorous world of the Hamptons. And mostly at social events like this tea party. This is very true to the original story by Dumas. The Count of Monte Cristo is set in France by the time of the Bourbon Restoration in the first decade of the 19th century. After Napoleon has been defeated, whole Europe and France begin to install old power systems with royalty. So the novel's world is the royal or at least noble high class of citizens which can go to the opera and wear the best fashionable clothes of the time. But it is not only a luxurious environment like the modern Hamptons, because the plot is very political, too. Because Napoleon is not yet dead, all royals and supporters of the crown fear the return of Napoleon, since he returned once before from exile. So there is as much mistrust and fear of losing one's social status in the air as in the modern world. Everyone mistrusted everyone and no one seemed to be above suspicion. So it was easy to frame an innocent man like Edmond Dantes, the future Count of Monte Cristo. Here in the Hamptons, especially in Grayson Manor, it is the same atmosphere. A word on Victoria and Charlotte. What I really like about this episode is that we get to see more of their relationship. I know the show is more about fathers and daughters, but I like it when they focus on the relationship between the female parts of the family. Spoiler alert 1. Especially with the truth that Charlotte is not Conrad's daughter, Victoria's thoughts about Charlotte in the therapy session become a great significance. I am sure if they had focused on her and Charlotte a bit more, that would have made the second season far better. Spoiler alert 2. Especially with Amanda's mother around, that could have been a nice story arc about mothers and daughters and their complicated relationships. They could even put real Emily Thorne's parents in the mix, cause besides the photo and Emily's cover story after their switched identities, we really do not know anything about where Formanda is from. For me, it would have been exciting to learn more about Formanda's background instead of the clichés we get in passing. Now a word on Emily's dress for her fourth takedown. First, I did not like the dress at all. It is very different from her other outfits, and I am also not a friend of the color yellow. But now I think it is fitting for the event. It is just a nice sophisticated outfit for a socialite honor event at the afternoon. I think this was the first normal and really friendly conversation between Emily and Ashley. But I must admit that I was taught in the comments on my other video that their friendship is intended to look forced. A really smart thought which I never had. My judgment seems to be a little clouded because I dislike Ashley's character. However, this point of view is something that I always saw with Emily and Formanda. It was very clear from the flashbacks that Amanda aka Emily getting close to the real Emily Thorne aka Formanda to use her. It never occurred to me that this could also be the same with her and Ashley and vice versa. That makes absolute sense, though it would not explain why Emily is so bad in faking their friendship. However, it could be that they played those scenes with the audience in mind, so they played a forced friendship to make it clearer for the viewer that they are actually faking it. Like they are showing Emily's trust issues with her rude tone towards Nolan. Now to the actual takedown. I like how they embraced the soap opera world in season 1 and 3. Many do not like that about the show. Though in my opinion it is one of the main reasons why this show works. They do not hide what they're in except the convoluted season 2. They did not want to pretend being better or greater than a guilty pleasure show like any other soap opera. And the Hamptons exposed clips were just funny little snippets that got over the top. It is timeless and works in every society and with any cultural background. I love Nolan's immediate and later reactions towards Emily's takedown. He is like the viewer, amused and happy that Emily got her revenge and that she is working with such skill and elegance. What I still do not understand is Victoria's behavior towards Amanda Clarke. This little girl was truly innocent, and at that time Victoria even did not know her. Why did she had her locked up? Was it Conrad's wish because he feared the little girl could expose the affair of her father David Clarke with his wife Victoria? Or is it again the trope of the bad stepmother who is secretly jealous of her lover's child? I mean, what was the motivation in getting Amanda in the care system from the beginning? Spoiler alert. Victoria could have taken the girl in and let her grow up with her sister Charlotte. After all, she must have known that Charlotte was David Clarke's daughter. And when they would have adopted Amanda, they surely could have told the girl why she had to be silent about her father's affair with Victoria. She would have never hold that great wrath over the Graysons. They could have tell her any story to keep little Amanda on their side. Maybe she would have believed that in the same way as she believed her father was a terrorist till she met Nolan. So there was another way for Amanda, and I still do not understand why Victoria chose to let her literally be locked up. By the way, I like that they have this pattern that the punishment shall fit the crime. So Dr. Banks is locked up the same way as Amanda was, though it is not entirely the same punishment because she was just locked up a few hours and not as a child. So it is not at all the same experience. However, I love the idea that stands behind Emily's hoodie. It is a symbol and a reminder that she is in truth a very dangerous criminal. Because sometimes we overlook that Emily is not a good girl. Yeah, she has her reasons why she is doing all those things, and she thinks she is doing right by her father and the other innocent victims of the Graysons. But in fact she does break the law multiple times. Though she is the main protagonist, and the Graysons have done and will do far worse things than her, that is something you should keep in mind by watching. In my opinion, this was a far greater problem for the show than the soap opera elements, because in the end they had to get around the fact that the main hero of the show is not a good person and has very bad and dangerous character traits. Especially in season 1 we see more of pure evil Emily, when she has built a relationship with Nolan and Amanda, and especially after Aiden comes back she becomes more likable. What I also enjoyed is that Emily has many talents, though they seems to overdo the maritime theme here. However, painting seems to be a fitting hobby for Emily cause it trains the eye for details and keeping focus. Again they stick with this by showing her painting with her mother in a flashback in season 2. Here it is a nice combination of motives because drawing is also a therapy form and kids like to draw pictures for and with their parents. And again Agnes Obel's song, River, makes this scene even more heartbreaking. I must again say that I dislike Amanda's storyline here. It would have been far more effective if they had adopted her and told her the terrorist story in a more comforting atmosphere. Little Amanda would not have been so stubborn if they did not treat her like this. Maybe she even would have been grateful for the Graysons to have taken her into their family. The only obstacle would have been her relationship to her father. But if they could destroyed it that way with Dr. Banks brainwashing little Amanda, they surely could have done that by themselves and in a more pleasant and far less violent way. I like this compilation at the end very much. It reminds me of the end scenes from Desperate Housewives with the voice from The Off, a show from ABC which I enjoyed very much too. Without any dialogue and the song in the background, you get a better feeling for these characters. Everything is summed up and is set into context by Emily's voice. Her voiceovers are a great metaphor for her need to control everything and that she is the mastermind in the background, involved in almost every plot. And it is so close to literature and old books with an omniscient narrator. Though this stylistic device is very old, I like it still. Most great books work with those things. And some great shows too. Not everything must be new and shiny. Like the flashbacks, which I enjoyed the most because it gave us every time a new piece of the puzzle. Many may be tired of this one, but I think it is almost the greatest of them all. Because this little scene summons all of David's problems up in one little moment. A word on symbolism. I like that Victoria is wearing white. She really thinks, and in a way it is true, that she is a victim. Because she lost David, and his blue shirt underlines his true love and trustworthiness. He never thought that Victoria could do something this bad to him. Blue and white also stands for the water and sea spray, so it is fitting for the maritime theme of the song as well. Some final thoughts. I like the reference here with the lyrics and Victoria being wet from the rain. And the lyrics are just so fitting for David's fate and the storm that is about to gather around him and his daughter Amanda.
I walk to the borders on my just like a storm, chill to the barrel, them walls, why do I go here?
Victoria! What are you doing here?
I had to see you.
You're soaking wet.
I told Conrad I was leaving him.
But I thought you said...
I can't live this way anymore, and I want for us to be together.
And I just did all the editing with zooming in at little Amanda and having Emily 2 decades later with almost the same expression. And I really like the little detail that Emily's reflection is seen in the laptop screen on the left side beside the movie frame with Victoria. It underlines their connection and is a forecast of the theme that Emily and Victoria are more alike than both of them would ever admit. And when Emily turns the video off and is closing the laptop, you see her reflection getting darker, which is a nice metaphor for her dark side. For me, this one was one of the best episodes of Revenge after all.